food bank.
Hi, my name is Mark. We're here with the Basement Closet Sessions at CFUV. We have JP Meldrum here today. He's going to be playing a set for us, and then we're going to be doing an interview after. And before we get started, I have a poem for you guys. Find poems, don't read them aloud. Compile poems, don't read them aloud. Estimate how long it would take to read them aloud. Order them from the longest to shortest. Create or procure a sonic backdrop. Be sure to add a beep at the end of the determined estimated length of reading. For each poem, play backdrop aloud, introduce the poem, read aloud concurrently with the backdrop. When you hear the beep, move on to the next poem.
Motorized Razors by Christian Bach. Motorized raiders. Rhoda Zaza Whipsaw. Zoom. Zang. Toom. Toom. Da da. Roborama Buzzsaw. Buzz. Bazooka. Buzz bomb. Bang. Zang. Zip. Zing. Zip. Gun. Zulu. Acid Jazz. Izaum Jiu-Jitsu. Xerox Juggernaut. Jaws of a Jigsaw. Ripsaw Zumbarook. Blunderbuss Boom, Giro Zaza Hacksaw, Dire, Doom, Dynamite Cadenza, Razorama Circsaw, Mers, Berserkers, Curse, Each, Law which causes, Rust on Scissors, Chainsaw Maniacs, Hijack, High Tech, Tick-tock clocks as klaxons clang, gangs of gung-ho guys with axes battling Gatling guns, Attack boom boxes. Oxastoline Sun. Ave Maria by Frank O'Hara. Mothers of America, let your kids go to the movies. Get them out of the house so they won't know what you're up to. It's true that fresh air is good for the body, but what about the soul that grows in darkness embossed by silvery images? And when you grow old, as grow old you must, they won't hate you, they won't criticize you, they won't know. They'll be in some glamorous country they first saw on a Saturday afternoon or playing hooky. They may even be grateful to you, which only cost you a quarter and didn't upset the peaceful home. They will know where candy bars come from, and gratuitous bags of popcorn as gratuitous as leaving the movie before it's over, with a pleasant stranger whose apartment is in the Heaven on Earth Boulevard, near the Williamsburg Bridge. Oh, mothers, You will have made the little tykes so happy, because if nobody does pick them up at the movies, they won't know the difference. And if somebody does, it'll be sheer gravy. And they'll have been truly entertained either way, instead of hanging around the yard or up in their room hating you prematurely, since you won't have done anything horribly mean yet except keeping them from the darker joys. It's unforgivable, the latter, so don't blame me if you won't take this advice and the family breaks up and your children go old and blind in front of a TV set seeing movies you wouldn't let them see when they were young. Barbara by Jack Prévert. Remember Barbara, it rained relentlessly on Brest that day, and you walked smiling, beaming, ravishing, drenched under the rain. Remember Barbara, it rained relentlessly on Brest that day, and I ran into you in Siam Street. You were smiling and I smiled too. Remember Barbara, you whom I didn't know, you who didn't know me. Remember that day still. Don't forget. A man was taking cover on a porch and he cried your name, Barbara. And you ran to him under the rain, beaming, ravishing, drenched, and you threw yourself in his arms. Remember that, Barbara, and don't be mad if I speak familiarly. I speak familiarly to everyone I love, even if I've seen them only once. I speak familiarly to all who are in love, even if I don't know them. Remember, Barbara, don't forget that good and happy rain on your happy face on that happy town. That rain upon the sea, upon the arsenal, upon the Ushant boat. Oh, Barbara, what stupidity is war? What has become of you under this iron rain of fire and steel and blood? And he who held you in his arms amorously, is he dead and gone, or still so much alive? Oh, Barbara, it's rained all day on Brest today as it was raining before, but it isn't the same anymore. And everything is wrecked. It's a rain of mourning, terrible and desolate, nor is it still a storm of iron and steel and blood, but simply clouds that die like dogs, dogs that disappear in the downpour drowning Brest and float away to rot a long way off, a long way from Brest, of which there's nothing left. Straight Rain is Rare by Lee Hyejinan. A straight rain is rare and doors have suspicions, and I hold that names begin histories, and that the last century was a cruel one. I am pretending to be a truck in Mexico. I am a woman with a long neck and a good burden. I waddle efficiently. Activity never sleeps, and no tale of crumbling cliffs can be a short one. I have to shift weight favorably. Happiness can't be settled. I brush my left knee twice, my right once, my left twice again, and in that way advance. The alphabet and the cello can represent horses, but I can only pretend to be a dog slurping puddle. After the 55 minutes it takes to finish my leg tremble, all is forgiven. Yesterday is going the way of tomorrow indirectly, and the heat of the sun is inadequate at this depth. I see the moon. The verbs ought and can lack infinity, and somewhere between 1957, when the heat of the dry sun naughtily struck me, and now, when my secrets combine in the new order of cold rains and night winds, a lot has happened. Long phrases are made up of short phrases that bear everything in vain, or all in fun for your sake and step by step precisely. I too can spring. Your Brain is Not a Prison by Sasha Debevec McKenney. A prison is the only place that's a prison. Maybe your brain is a beehive or better. An ant's nest, a spin class, the stand stuck in an hourglass. Your brain is like, stop it. So you practice driving with your knees. You get all the way out of the complex of the Little League fields. You get chicken fingers with 4 kinds of mustard. Spicy, whole grain, Dijon, yellow. You walk from field to field. You watch yourself. Play every position. You circle each identical game. Each predictable outcome. On one field you catch. On one field you pitch. You are center field. You are left. Sometimes you slide too hard into second on purpose. It feels so good to get the bloody knee as it does to kick yourself in the shin. You wait for the bottom of the ninth to lay your blanket out in the sun. Admit it, Sasha. The sun helps. Today. The red team hits the home run. Red floods every field. A wasp lands on your thigh. You know this feeling. Untitled poems by T.C. Francis. 1. Shaved icon, flat palm, hard, or mandolin, scary, an aperitif paired with Korean fried chicken, or a crisp addition to a coleslaw with other shaved veggies and fish sauce. 2. Before the flood, the dove with broken wings, a glass vase, a gravid gut, she, the bird without discernible feathers, said yes to hope. What if Noah was a girl from Amherst? And what about the big fish that swim in the Antarctic red? After the flood, the friend of Bart's bestowed upon a triumph of sexual complexity, the oeuvre of the egg, not Columbus, the chronicle of insatiable depravity, the story of the squished-eyed shepherd, the Bible of the bull and the bullocks. Modern times, Hallmark came, I'm buying gifts for Friendsgiving. Christmas in August, hold the applause, then play a secret chord, and no one shall shed a tear. Section 13 of Songs to Jonas by Mina Loy. Come to me, there is something I've got to tell you and I can't tell, something taking shape, something that has a new name, a new dimension, a new use, a new illusion. It is ambient and it is in your eyes, something shiny, something only for you. Something that I must not see. It is in my ears, something very resonant, something that you must not hear, something only for me. Let us be very jealous, very suspicious, very conservative, very cruel, or we might make an end of jostling of aspirations, desorb in volatile egos. Where 2 or 3 are welded together, they shall become God. Oh, that's right. Keep away from me. Please give me a push. Don't let me understand you. Don't realize me. Or we might tumble together, depersonalized, identical, into terrific nirvana. Me, you, me. One Art by Elizabeth Bishop. The art of losing isn't hard to master. So many things seem filled with intent. To be lost that their loss is no disaster. Lose something every day, except the fluster of lost door keys, the hour badly spent. The art of losing isn't hard to master. And practice losing farther, losing faster, places and names and where it was you meant to travel. None of these things will bring disaster. I lost my mother's watch, and look, my last, or next to last, of 3 loved houses went. The art of losing isn't hard to master. I lost 2 cities, lovely ones, and vaster some realms I owned. 2 rivers, a continent, I missed them, but it wasn't a disaster. Even losing you, the joking voice, a gesture I love. I shan't have lied. It's evident the art of losing is not too hard to master, although it may look like, write it, like disaster. I Taste a Liquor Never Brewed by Emily Dickinson. I taste a liquor never brewed from tankard scooped in pearl. Not all the Frankfurt berries yield such alcohol. Inebriate of air am I, and debauchee of dew, reeling through endless summer days from inns of molten blue. When landlords turn the drunken bee out of the foxglove's door, when butterflies renounce their dreams, I shall but drink the more. Till seraphists swing their snowy hats and saints to windows run to see the little tippler leaning against the sun. The World is Too Much with Us by William Wordsworth. The world is too much with us late and soon. Getting and spending we lay waste our powers. Little we see in nature that is ours. We have given our hearts away, a sordid boon, the sea that bears her bosom to the moon. The winds that will be howling at all hours are upgathered now like sleeping flowers. For this, for everything, we are out of tune. It moves us not. Great God, I'd rather be a pagan suckled in a creed outworn. So might I, standing on this pleasant lea, have glimpses that would make me less forlorn, have sight of Proteus rising from the sea, or hear old Triton blow his wretched horn. Ifing by Langston Hughes. If I had some small change, I'd buy me a mule. Get on that mule and ride like a fool. If I had some greenbacks, I'd buy me a Packard. Fill it up with gas and drive that baby backward. If I had $1 million, I'd get me a plane. And everybody in America'd think I was insane. But I ain't got $1 million. Fact is, ain't got a dime. So just buy Ifin'. I have a good time. Song by James Joyce. My love is in a light attire among the apple trees, where the gay winds do most desire to run in companies. There, where the gay wind stands to woo the young leaves as they pass, my love goes slowly, bending to her shadow on the grass. And where the sky's a pale blue cap over the laughing land, my love goes lightly, holding up her dress with dainty hand. Elevated Self-Esteem as a Result of Alcohol Consumption by Megan Boyle. I went to go to the gym and pretend the weight machines are drums and play the longest drum solo on them. Everyone will stop working out to look at me. Gradually, a crowd will gather. People will nod their heads and whisper to each other, "What is she doing? I don't know, but I like it." Gnome by Samuel Beckett. Spend the years of learning squandering, courage for the years of wandering, through a world politely turned from the loutishness of learning. Note to a Gentleman by Joy Kagawa. The time to talk about your wife is before. It is the difference between a shield and sword. And if you want the battle to be fought without arms, bring her with you. Autumn by T.E. Holm. A touch of cold in the autumn night, I walked abroad and saw the ruddy moon lean over a hedge. Like a red-faced farmer, I did not stop to speak, but nodded, and round about were the wistful stars with white faces like town children. 1,000 Drawings by T.C. Francis. 1,000 drawings scribbled in the margins, and still I cannot close my cubes.
Just before our love got lost, you said, I am as constant in northern star. I said, constant in darkness. There's that. If you want me, I'll be in the bottom.
Thank you.
That was a performance by J.P. Meldrum. It was fantastic and different, and we heard some beautiful poems. How are you feeling after that, JP?
Oh, shit, yeah. Sorry.
Hey, JP.
Hey, what's up?
Thank you for the performance. That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Yeah, some beautiful poems you put out there. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the poems you selected, what really stood out for you, and how you went about that process, putting it all together?
Sure. I mean, it's based on like the idea of like a text score, you know, like where you write text instead of like musical notation. And I learned about that a few years ago, and then I kind of ran with that idea, and I thought, isn't poetry sort of like the ultimate text score, right? In that it's inherently musical, not always, but sometimes. That was sort of the basis of the idea. And I was talking with my brother about, like we were talking about school or something, and the word exercise came up, right? And I was thinking about how doing like mental exercises isn't the same as doing exercise like physically, and how I could like, I don't know. And then we just thought about like the beep test, which is like the funniest thing you ever do in like high school gym. It's like very traumatizing for a lot of people, and pretty like horrifyingly like battle royale style kind of competitive, right? So I just put a bunch of ideas together, and this was definitely an experiment of this idea. I have a few sort of self-criticisms, but I'll keep that to myself.
Well, it's fantastic. You picked some amazing poems, and can you tell us a little bit about the first one you had me read out?
That's the score.
Oh, that's the score. Okay, yeah, fantastic. I see you had some Ableton running in the background. Can you talk a little bit about the setup and how you kind of made it all come together?
Yeah, I mean, like, I just think if I were to just do spoken word, it would be boring. And I find, like, it just makes it easier for me reading these things to kind of get into that, like, admittedly goofy, like, reading poetry, but because I guess I chose that voice, the kind of, like, Crimson Chin sort of thing from Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah. The music, yeah. I don't know. It's an old piece of music of mine that I just like slowed down, honestly, and then I added some field recordings to it. It samples something to do with Andy Warhol. I don't remember what it is though.
When you're creating your own music for the background tracks, do you use a lot of hardware synths, software synths, field recordings, anything like that?
I just hit buttons, to be honest with you. Like when I'm making this sort of stuff, I only use software. Yeah. To answer your question, I play instruments with the microphone. I don't use hardware synths.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How would you describe, I know this is a little bit different of a departure from what you usually do. What would you describe as your normal or your kind of genre that you focus on kind of making?
I don't have a focus. No, I'm totally bouncing off the wall like a little rubber ball with the music stuff. It's just not fun otherwise. Like I know I'm not like, it's not the successful or easy way to do it, but this is so much fun. Honestly, that was fun. Yeah.
I'm happy you'd enjoyed it, and from watching you look like you were having a great time, so that's a great thing.
Yeah, I was overstaying my own welcome a bit, to be honest. I was like, there's some issues with this, timing-wise, but yeah.
No worries. What were some of your influences kind of growing up? You said you don't have any genre you focus on, so did you grow up with a very broad sense of music?
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm like a classic, like, I read Pitchfork in like high school. I read like honestly the 4chan music board when I was younger. Like the internet, internet music. But hip hop is like, when it really comes down to it, my favorite kind of music. Like, but I like experimental music a lot as well. My favorite artist of all time is Kanye. Like that's my number one influence in all honesty. Like I can't help it. It's it's in my DNA now, And then, I'm a big fan of Ryuichi Sakamoto. He's a huge influence. Yeah, I like hearing like lo-fi black metal. I don't really listen to that stuff anymore, but just the kind of like power of sounding bad was very interesting to me. And yeah, harsh noise music and stuff. Like just, I ended up accidentally at a show when I was not a kid, when I was like 20 or something, 19. That was like, the final act was like the guys in the house. They were called Ears. A bunch of locals. Shout out to them. And yeah, they just made noise. And I was like, somebody turned to me and was like, when does this band start? And I was like, yeah, I think that's the point. I'm not sure. Yeah. And I loved that kind of reaction. And I've kind of chased that beast ever since.
You talked a little bit about how the internet influences a lot of your music stylings. Where's your favorite current place to kind of explore weird music, different stuff on the internet right now?
Boomcat is really, really good. They're a distributor, as well as it's sort of a blog. They just have nice write-ups, and they like categorize all their music into like micro genres. It's a focus on electronic music mostly. And like I go there every other day and just kind of scan. I mostly look for ambient music or like minimal techno these days, and that's just a great resource. And they're really good at like keeping there'll be guys that you're like, oh, I know who this is, and then there'll be artists that they just pick up out of nowhere, and it's like a super diverse roster of records. And the writing on the website is fantastic for like just describing the music and getting a feel for like where it's from, and Boomcat rocks. Yeah.
Definitely going to check that out sometime. I saw on some of your socials that you're a fan of some comic books and manga. Does that print media kind of affect your musical stylings and performances?
Where'd you see that I like comic books and manga?
I went straight to your Twitter and Instagram, and I just saw pictures and stuff.
Oh, yeah. I like, I read manga as a middle schooler. I was like a big nerd and still am. I've been rereading Dragon Ball. I don't know how it influences me. I just like it. I don't know. I don't love it though, to be honest, anymore. Like the comic book and manga world. But I like it.
Yeah, fair enough. I definitely went through my own comic manga phase when I was younger.
What were you reading?
I read some of the big ones: Bleach, Fairy Tail, One Piece. I still try to keep up with, even though it's massive.
That's hard.
Yeah, it's a journey.
It scares me. During COVID, I watched the first 60 episodes of One Piece, and then this is sort of a metaphor, but I ran out of sugary breakfast cereal basically, and was like, I can't do this anymore.
Which is fair. It's a big commitment to kind of explore those worlds. They're really big for sure.
Yeah, I find that very interesting because I don't really like fantasy necessarily, or find that very stimulating. But stuff like One Piece and Dragon Ball and such can kind of aesthetically trick me into getting into a fantasy world, with its own rules and regulations and such. And that's interesting creatively. It sounds hard to do.
You also have your own show here on CFUV. Can you tell us a little bit about what you play, what your themes are, some fun bits you've had in the past?
Sure. Yeah, my show is called Outside the Box. I inherited it from someone else. I don't remember what their name was, but I think they played a lot of free jazz and stuff, and I like experimental music, and I was bored, and I went on the CFUV website, and they needed someone to host it, and I sent an email, and I got it. And I mostly play, in all honesty, like whatever I want with an ear for explicitly like bizarre music, right? And I've done a lot of interviews for it, which I did over Zoom. I don't really do them as much anymore. Just life kind of got ahead of me, and it's better to do a good job than do it. Not like it's better to not do it at all and do a bad job. Yeah, with interviews, I think so.
For exploring some weird kinds of musics, have you spent any times in the festival circuit or anything like that to explore kind of the BC kind of experimental music?
No, not really. Like I was in a band that was pretty weird for a while called Schoolgirl, and we got to experience some of that, but that was a while ago. And I don't really go to shows, to be honest with you. I like to hang out with my friends, not at shows, to be totally honest with you. I like experiencing live music, but yeah, it makes me feel socially anxious a little bit, to be honest.
It's understandable. Can definitely be overwhelming in a big crowd, and when you have your own headphones, it's a lot more of a controlled space.
Yeah. I like performing, though. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to tell the audience about? Feel free to ramble off anything interesting that's on the top of your brain, or anything other poems or anything that stands out to you.
You know, I've been really into this thing that died in the late 2000s called alt lit, and it's kind of making a comeback. But it's one of those poems I read there, for anyone that didn't tune out immediately, was by Megan Boyle. She wrote a book called Untitled Blog Posts by a Panda Express employee. And it was really interesting and very voyeuristically charming, kind of. So yeah, check out Megan Boyle. She made a film called Mumblecore as well. It was pretty nuts. It was all filmed with a MacBook. It was interesting. It's on YouTube.
Fantastic. Thank you for all the info. It was a fantastic performance.
Thanks.
Some amazing poetry in there as well. Yeah, thank you very much for the performance. If you want to give a shout out or anything at the end, and then
sure.
I'll play some music after.
Shout out to Leah. I love you. I talk too much. Jesus Christ.